Welcome to Impact News. I am Carolina Davis with your weekly stories, commentary, etc. for the week. We want to start with how are these people able, these privileged people, able to commit these terrible frauds against the country, and no one knows a thing until it all comes crashing down. Okay, all right, we all know the deal. Sam Bankman-Fried, how can he be one of the richest people in crypto? Thanks to his FTX exchange and Alameda research trading firm. But in November 2022, his company, all right, previously valued at $40 billion, folks, okay, all came crashing down, leading to billions in losses for investors, and some of those investors might have been you. He's the son of two Stanford professors, and he studied physics at MIT. Okay, so no thank you. I'll take my chances with my state school, my local HBCU college or university, because these so-called, and I have to say so-called because between the members of Congress and the white supremacists and all the people trying to take everything from everybody that went to these same elite schools, okay, sorry folks, they seem to have forgotten about ethics and integrity for their students and professors. Enough. They're tearing down this country. Stay away from them. All right, then there's apparently super fake George Santos. Oh, yes, folks, who is now in Congress. Oh, please. What didn't he lie about? I mean, honestly, he even lied about his mother's death? Seriously? He's accused of flashing white power signs on the floor of Congress? Really? Okay. All right, New York, you elected him. Did anyone do their due diligence? Well, we know they did. And we know that they hid this so he could get elected. But looking at the Republican Party, no one is surprised at the lack of ethics and integrity. America can and must do better. Stay with me. Carol Angela Davis bringing you the news for this week, your stories for the week from all around the neighborhood and all around the world. Folks, we're going to start in South Carolina, where the highest court is ordering the South Carolina Legislature to redraw a new voting map. Now, it's all because the court says the maps drawn by the state's majority-controlled Republican legislature constitute racial gerrymandering. What? You're kidding, okay? The legislature has until the end of March to redraw the map. Now, the unanimous three-judge panel held that, and I quote, reducing the African-American population in Charleston County so low as to bring the overall black percentage in Congressional District number 1 down to the 17% target was impossible without the gerrymandering of the African-American population of Charleston County. Now, an ACLU attorney says Republicans tried to surgically carve up black communities to secure their own political power, as they have done for generations. Maps in Louisiana and Alabama, just so you know, they are also on hold pending a Supreme Court case challenging similar allegations of racial gerrymandering. But then, of course, we're dealing with the Supreme Court, and we know where they stand with themselves on the six conservatives. They do not stand with the people, because if they did, they would have never had that Dobbs decision. So let's just start there. All right, let's move on, because we're in the nation's capital at the Supreme Court. Talking about the Supreme Court, let's talk about the Capitol itself. Folks, looks like Majorie Taylor Green forgot about Dre, folks. That's right. Dr. Dre is telling her to keep his music out of her videos and anything else, because Green used the instrumental of Dre's song Still Dre in her Vanity video, and Dr. Dre immediately sent her a cease and desist letter saying, and I quote, I don't license my music to politicians, especially someone as divisive and hateful as this one, unquote. Take that, lady. All right, of course, they want to use all our music and everything else we got. They just scared of us any other way. All right, let's move on. All right, we're going to go to Seattle, where the public schools there are suing media platforms for harming the mental health of our young people. Now, the suit targets the companies behind TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for successfully exploiting vulnerable brains of youth and hooking tens of millions of our young people into positive feedback loops of excessive use. Now, according to the lawsuit, the growth of these companies is based on this exploitation, and we all know it's true. Stop. Oh, these people care only about money. The longer kids stay on and the more they surf, the bigger and more profitable these companies get. The result, rising rates of anxiety, depression, thoughts of self-harm, and suicide amongst our young people. Stop. Don't you have any shame at all? The Seattle schools are seeking damages, and they want the court to order the companies to stop creating this public nuisance. Now, What are they going to do if they get the money? The schools are going to use it for prevention, education, and treatment for excessive and problematic use of social media. Let's hope we can get this stopped, because without our youth, we have no future. By the way, I hope someone actually cares about that. Let's take a look at your health. A new lawsuit is asking the federal courts to stop production of one company's plastic containers. We're talking about the kind of containers that are used in here in the U.S. to hold your food. Oh yeah, your food, cleaning supplies, personal care items, and other consumer products. Now, scientists say these containers allow PFAS, forever chemicals, to leach into your food and other products, which basically means you're eating the chemicals. And since they're really bad for you, that's really bad. Now, the groups say regulators have known about the potential health hazards of this since 2021, but have failed to do anything to prevent it. The company in question is Houston-based Enhance. It produces tens of millions of consumer containers that contain PFAS. Now, the plaintiff says Enhance has to follow Environmental Protection Agency rules that require it to receive approval for its production processes. All right, let's move on, because before though, I want to tell you this. For those of you who have not been watching our stories on PFAS, which is very, very important, they're a class of about 12,000 chemicals. They're compounds. They're typically used to make products resist water, stains, and heat. They're called forever chemicals because they never break down naturally, okay? They're linked to cancer. Also, kidney disease, liver problems, immune disorders, birth defects, and other serious health problems. Meanwhile, just in case you're wondering how bad it can get, because if that's not bad enough, which it should be, a large plume of toxic chemicals produced by a plant that manufactures firefighting foam has seeped into the groundwater. Oh yeah. All right, to Lake Michigan's Green Bay. Now, this firefighting foam, those are the PFAS chemicals, folks. They are going to keep on going until they poison us all. All right, let's move on to the World Wildlife Fund. It says the year 1970. Remember this year, 1970, folks. That was the year that the human population was 3 billion people. And at 3 billion people, it was just large enough to sustain the human and animal populations. However, 50 years later, the population of humans is 8 billion people, folks, and wild plants and animals are running out of places to live. All right, the scientists call this mass extinction, and they say it's a mass extinction on a scale not seen since the dinosaurs, which we know don't exist anymore. All right, a mass extinction, in case you're wondering, is when at least 75% or 3/4 of the known species disappear from the face of the earth. And don't think humans can't be one of those species disappearing, okay? Scientists say humanity is sitting on a limb that we are literally sawing off, and we just won't stop. Today, humans have taken over 70% of the planet's land and 70% of the planet's water. Fresh water, we are consuming 175% of what the earth can regenerate. Does that sound like a recipe for success to you? Oh no, we got to get this under control. Now, the worst is in Latin America. That's where the World Wildlife Fund says wildlife has fallen 94% since 1970. But there is hope. Mexican ecologist Gerardo Ceballos, he's one of the world's leading scientists on extinction. He told us the only solution is to save 1/3 of the earth. They have to save the 1/3 of the earth that is left, that remains wild. We have to save 1/3 of the earth, even if it means paying family members and farmers and whoever they got to pay to stop cutting the forest. Now, Ceballos conducted an experiment that proved that this can create reserves big enough to begin to sustain the earth. So we got to get that job done. Now, let's take a look at the diaspora. The money is gone. That's what they're saying in the Bahamas, people. Bahamas is trying to turn the page after FTX bombed. Now, the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, you remember it, because, of course, we're going to see who goes to jail for that one. It was supposed to be the crown jewel of the Bahamian government's push to be the global destination for all things crypto. All right, that was after years of having an economy that was simply centered on tourism and banking. All right, now, instead, FTX is bankrupt, all right, and the Bahamas is trying to figure out what's next while regulators try to locate FTX's customers missing money. Oh, yes, a mess. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, he went from solvent to bankrupt in 1 week. All that money gone. Of course, we know that money's somewhere. All right, he was arrested last month in the Bahamas and extradited to the U.S. to face criminal charges. We'll see if he faces any. We'll see if anything happens to him. And where is that money? Because we know billions of dollars didn't just disappear into thin air. All right, let's go to Fisk University, where the gymnastics team became the first from a historically black college or university to appear in an NCAA meet. Go do it, Fisk, okay? The appearance for Fisk comes less than 14 months after the school announced its inaugural gymnastics program and team. And you should know Fisk finished fourth. Now, you know that black girl magic. It's not going to be but a minute before Fisk is finishing first. All right, we'll just be waiting on that to happen. We know it's going to happen. All right, let's go on to Henrietta Lacks. You know her. She's getting a statue in her hometown of Roanoke, Virginia. Now, in case you don't know her, she's the person who transformed cancer research, and she's the blueprint for the development of many life-saving cures. But her story shows how racial injustices are historically interwoven into the healthcare system. Of course, we all know that because we feel that. Lacks was found to have cervical cancer. Now, this is in 1951. She was treated by doctors at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. They discovered a lump in her cervix, okay? So they took her tissue samples without her knowledge or consent and used them for cancer research. She never even knew they had taken them. The cells are called HeLa for Henrietta Lacks. Those cells lasted and multiplied, but she died. The HeLa cells led to the creation of treatments for illnesses like leukemia, polio, and Parkinson's disease. Her statue is going to replace a sculpture of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Okay, go Henrietta. He never helped anybody, but just tried for white supremacy. Henrietta helped everybody, okay? All right, artist Bryce Cobbs, that's the person who drew the vision for the statue, and sculptor Larry Bechtel, that's the person who's going to bring it to life. I can't wait to see it. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for staying with me. You got to stay on top of the news, folks. I'll be back. You know, I got the Slay Word Missing, the financial news, the international report, and Ask Dr. K. Don't go away. Stay with me. Thanks for staying with me for the Slay Word of the Week, folks. And the word is charlatan. That's right. Level up your vocab with that one. Charlatan, C-H-A-R-L-A-T-A-N. Charlatan, folks, it is a noun. And its origin is in Italian, first known use being in 1618. Charlatan. Here's the definition. It is a charlatan, and you know a few of these, and a lot of them are in Washington. A charlatan is a person who pretends to know or be something in order to deceive people. Now, you know where I'm going with my sentences. Donald Trump is a charlatan, period, okay? Second sentence, all right? The famed faith healer turned out to be a charlatan, all right? Charlatan, that's your Slay Word of the Week. It means it's a person, who pretends to know or be something in order to deceive people. Use it, folks. Level up that vocab. Call it like you see it. Stay with me.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate little feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove.
You know who you are and who we are.
We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight.
Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? And the government wouldn't know it? No.
They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Where are you, Mercedes Crumpton? This is our missing segment where we look for our missing young black girls. This week, we're focused on Mercedes Crumpton, and with your help, we're going to find her. 13-year-old Mercedes Crumpton was last seen on a Friday on the west side of Chicago, Illinois. She was spotted in the 800 block of South Keeler Avenue. Mercedes regularly wears a black dress and black furry sandals. She has a scar on her nose and wears long braids. Mercedes is 5'5". She weighs 100 pounds and has brown eyes and black hair. Please call Chicago police with any information about Mercedes Crumpton. Mercedes Crumpton, that's the person we're looking for this week. If you have any leads, please reach out to the number that you saw on your screen and help us find Mercedes Crumpton. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. This is your international report with Dr. Inyang Ebong Harstrup, and she's telling you, of course, what's going on notable to the community around the world. Welcome, Edie.
Thank you, Carol. Today, I want to talk about Joe Biden and his outreach to Africans through a partnership leadership summit in Washington, D.C. And you know that the Americans had this step back from Africa under Donald Trump, who called a number of African nations shithole countries, which didn't help anybody. So there was a step back. And even before the step back, the Chinese and the Russians have been in Africa digging, making money, investing, making money, investing. And the Americans have been pulling back. 8 years ago, Barack Obama held a leadership summit of African nations. And this, if you like, is a successor to that. And as Biden says, when Africa succeeds, the United States succeeds. And quite frankly, the whole world succeeds. So there are about 49 African nations, including the African Union, that have come to Washington to have talks about investment. And in the days that they've talked about investing $55 billion over the next 3 years. And on Wednesday, Washington announced more than $15 billion in two-way trade and investment commitments, deals, and partnerships with Africa. Already companies like General Electric and Cisco Systems have found themselves in there. So what we're hoping as Africans is that having the Americans back on the continent will give us some different opportunities, because having just the Chinese has been, I think, problematic, to say the least. So it's a good thing that the Americans want to re-engage again. And this summit is a great summit.
So it's more competition, I would say. You got the Chinese, you got the Americans, you got the Russians. They got to compete. Whoever has the best deal for the Africans will be the person who prevails, the country that prevails, I would think.
Exactly. And a lot of the investment is going to go into infrastructure and sustainable energy, which are things that we desperately need. So I'm all for many more players. I definitely didn't like just the Chinese. It was not helping anybody, and it wasn't helping us. And today I was talking to a lady who was talking about the mining in Ghana and how the Chinese came and they used mercury to mine the gold, and it's destroyed the rivers, and people are getting sick with cancer. Children are being born deformed. I mean, this kind of nonsense is just unacceptable. So let's have more competition, I say.
Absolutely. And I'm just happy to see it happen. It's long overdue. And I know you'll be following that story. We can't wait to get our next update. Thank you so much, Dr. Inyang Ebong Harstrup. As you know, she's your international specialist. She has her finger on the pulse of what's happening around the world, bringing that information right to you. Thank you, Edie.
Thanks, Carol. See you next week.
See you next time. And you stay with us. We'll be right back. We got a little bit more for you. Welcome to your financial news, folks. You know we got to know how the money's flowing out here. Let's start with the unemployment rate of Black women, folks. It is up despite a decline in the overall unemployment rate. Yes, you did hear me correctly, unfortunately. Now, the rate of unemployed Black women rose from 5.2% to 5.5% from November to December. That comes to us, that data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, among all U.S. workers, rates of unemployment actually went down from 3.7% to 3.5% during the same time period. That's what the report is indicating. Now, also, Latino men and women, those are other groups that also saw their unemployment rate rise in the final month of 2022, increasing from 3.6% to 4% for Latino men and from 3.6% to 3.7% for Latina women. All right, let's take a look at HBCU, Lincoln University of Missouri. It got $2.9 million to bridge the digital divide. That money's going to equip scholars with the tech tools they need to thrive academically. Now, it was given to the school through an initiative led by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration's Connecting Minority Communities pilot program. The project launched to provide historically Black colleges and universities all across the country with the equipment and resources they need for digital connectivity. In 2022, Clark Atlanta University, you should know, it got $11.8 million and an endowment for the creation of a metaverse hub. And also the United Negro College Fund has announced that it's joining forces with Deloitte Digital. They're going to create an online education platform called HBCUV. All right, let's go on to Coinbase. It's eliminating 20%, folks, of its staff in the latest round of crypto layoffs. Coinbase, you should know, its shares tumbled 86% in 2022. Yeah. As a comparison, Bitcoin fell 64%. Now, 950 employees at Coinbase are getting the axe. We should also tell you crypto brokerage Genesis, it cut about 30% of its workforce. Crypto exchange Huobi is cutting 20% of jobs, and crypto-friendly bank Silvergate Capital, it laid off 40% of its staff. So that we all know the crypto boom is over. So, we got to just get ready for that. Those are your financial stories. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Don't go away. I've got to ask Dr. K. Stay with me.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
I know, baby. I know. I'm sorry I ain't been spending time with you. I just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss? Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. You partner. I don't want it back.
I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes.
You see the movie, huh? Did you see Goodfellas? New Jack City?
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Fine bullshit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
We're back closing out the show with you, as we always do. Dr. K is here. Welcome, Dr. K.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Well, I wanted to continue the discussion of blue light. And again, I want to distinguish this from ultraviolet light. So when we go outside, we're actually absorbing two different types of light. One of them is ultraviolet, and one of them is blue light. Blue light is exceptionally important. So last week we talked about circadian rhythms, making sure we maintain our sleep-awake cycle, the importance of cortisol during the day, melatonin and leptin at night as a way to regulate our enzymes, our metabolism, our health, our inflammation, etc. So how do we do this? Well, number one, go outside. You're not just going outside for ultraviolet light. Go outside during the day and get that blue light every day for at least 20 minutes. Now, this is not the kind of light that is absorbed whether we have dark skin or light skin, and it's not related to our vitamin D. It is related to many other things. So just go outside maybe 20 minutes. Number two, get blue blocker glasses, because blue light is coming from our electronics, our city lights, our LED lights, and we only really want blue light during the day. Artificial blue light is really harmful to our health. So get a blue blocking filter on glasses if you wear them, and if not, you can get something called gaming glasses, and gaming glasses have a blue light filter, and they come in different strengths of the blue light filter, all the way from amber to red. Number two, sleep in complete darkness. The body does the laundry at night. The brain does the laundry at night. Sleeping is incredibly important to our overall health. Sleep in the dark. If electronics don't turn all the way off, maybe they have a little light on, cover them, face the wall, unplug them, darken the curtains, put the city lights out, and get yourself a very good night's sleep during the night, not during the day. Incredibly important as an anti-inflammatory. You must decrease the cortisol at night, because cortisol is the beginning of the inflammatory pathway in the body. You must naturally increase your melatonin at night, because that is so important, and it's even important in preventing COVID. So these are just some of the things that you can do to improve your reaction, I guess you could say, to blue light, and really give yourself the best metabolic function that you can.
Wow, it's always so interesting, the topics that you choose. Dr. K, thank you so much. We appreciate
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. And it just shows you how important sleep is.
Yes.
And being awake during the day. These are so basic, but they're incredibly important to our overall health.
Thank you, Dr. K. I am Carol Angela Davis. This has been Impact News. You know, we bring you the news every week, the stories and the issues and the information that you need to make your life better. I'm Carol Angela Davis. And this is Dr. K. Thank you so much for joining us. And from all of us here at Impact News, we'll see you next week. You know, we got more for you then.